Good morning. My guest today is a dance champion, a seven-time cabaret dance champion. To those of you cabaret athletes out there, when you watch this, and if you have a chance to take lessons or private lessons from this gentleman, he will give you good. I mean, this guy has performed all over the world. Him and Zoe, Dave and Zoe, have formed this company called Paradizo Dance. And we'll talk about that later on. Of course, they were finalists also at the America's Got Talent. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to welcome the gentleman, Dave Paris. How are you, Dave?
Yeah, I'm feeling good, man.
I haven't seen you in a long time, man.
Great to see you. Even virtually still counts.
Yeah, virtual still count. I mean, last time I saw you, I think you performed at my festival, but that was a long time ago, bro. It's either wasn't Las Vegas or San Francisco. I forgot.
Probably San Francisco, but it's funny. Yeah. All the memories mush in at this point, and with the new reality.
But the new reality, indeed. I mean, first of all, I think my viewers are glad, especially Bay Area watching, that you're still alive, man.
Yeah.
The hell, bro. I mean, like we were talking earlier, you got this COVID from your relative and
my brother, yeah.
Your brother, and you're healthier than your brother.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. This disease is crazy. My brother got it for a week. He, back then we didn't know whether the testing wasn't there. And, so I washed my hands, I hung out with him. I was socially distant from everybody else. So I had the same symptoms as him. And then it was funny, my sister called me on the 8th day, and she said, it's not the first week you get it that you should worry about. It's the second week.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, whatever. And then I woke up in front of my fridge. I fell asleep just on the floor and woke up in front of it, and I could barely breathe. And I thought to myself, maybe my sister's right. So I made my way to the hospital. And the moment I walked in the lobby, this is a thing apparently, I went from short of breath to couldn't breathe at all. And I couldn't even say the words. And within 10 seconds, they got like an oxygen tank in front of me. They sat me in a wheelchair. They knew the drill. It's like, at first everybody's like relaxed. And the moment I go, forget it. It was, they know, because
they knew it already, huh?
It was New York City in the beginning of April. So
but at that time, bro, the therapeutic medications were not.
I got hydrochloroquine.
Did you?
I did. I certainly did. Yeah.
Was that during or after the ventilator?
That was before. They gave me 3 experimental medications. I was struggling. I don't remember them, to be honest. The only memories I have is when people reminded me to check out the text. And they texted me, and I texted words that I don't understand back. That's what I knew. Yeah, mentally, I was struggling with people that were around me, and later I was told there's only one person in the room at the time. So I was hallucinating pretty bad. They thought I was in severe trouble, and they told my family that. It's like, yeah, he's pretty bad. And but yeah, they gave me 3 different type of things. None of them worked. And then they said, look, you're going on the ventilator. I actually thought great. I remember, I didn't know the statistics of the ventilator being like problematic. I thought, yeah, great, whatever's gonna help, and they looked at me funny. I remember that expression. And it was a doctor or nurse, I wasn't sure. But he looked at me real funny, like, why is this guy so enthusiastic? And they say, I have a few people tell me, it's my ignorance that helped me to some degree come back, because I was so certain I was coming back that, I remember being, so those people know I was on a ventilator for a day, it didn't work. They put me on a machine called ECMO, which like takes your blood out, oxygenates it, puts it back in. And most people also don't survive off of that.
Oh my God, that's like the next step for ventilator, bro.
That's exactly right. It's even worse. They say that like ventilator, like 20% chance of living. ECMO is even more far out. So that's your last chance.
But not just that. You were into that. You were in that instrument for, like you said, 34 days.
Yeah, they usually say they usually use that for open heart surgery, and it's a big deal to have your heart, your chest open for for 24 hours. I was
Yeah.
on it for 35 minutes. Like,
So
yeah,
here's the puzzling thing about this, brother, is that you took the precautions, you washed your hands, you were
yeah,
doing social distancing, um, but you still got it.
yeah, yeah.
Especially in
And
the city of New York, as you know, it's
it was everywhere. I mean, it might not have been for my brother. It might have been, I did, you never know. I might have touched a
true,
door handle that somebody else touched,
true.
and maybe I touched my eye or something like this. We'll never know.
Especially in New York, because that city was hit really, really bad. I mean,
Yeah, we had all the I came into the hospital right during the worst wave, and it was overrun. All the doctors and nurses were completely crushed emotionally. They all told me about it afterwards, that it was the hardest thing they've done in their lives. They had tons
really.
of traveling nurses come in to help, and it was truly triage out here.
Now, I wanted to know what you feel, how you were feeling during the ventilator. You mentioned earlier, off record, that you don't remember from time to time. Is it because you passed out, or what happened?
Before I went on the ventilator,
Or during the ventilator?
sure. Before the ventilator, apparently my oxygen levels were at like 80%, and they say if it goes below 90, you're in trouble. So
Oh, shit.
yes, I wasn't wasn't doing so well. Um, and you never know. Some of the drugs maybe had me forget, but I remember some of the thoughts I had there. But during the ventilator, during the actual coma, they put me in an induced coma for 35 days, and
Oh, I see. I see.
yeah,
Okay.
and then during that time, I actually don't have a connection to the outside world, but they put like Zoe got a playlist of all my favorite songs and a
Nice.
lot of our shows. And this is gonna sound crazy, but I just dreamt of doing salsa dance shows around the world.
That's good. That's good,
It
man.
sounds crazy. I mean, what I say is like for me, it was actually not so bad. It was actually like I had I had one of those really blissful sleeps for and I think my favorite memory, and I remember the dream. There are a few dreams that stand out to me, but when I woke up, I shared them with my sister, and one still stays with me. Is I remember, in the salsa dance scene, so many people, myself included, are
Yeah.
just need to do their best and be at the top to be a top performer. And I remember I spent days doing that around the world, just like experiencing that again and again. And I remember finally there was this diamond in the bottom of the world. And I said, if I can just get the diamond, I'll finally be at the top. And I grabbed the diamond. I got into a convertible. I rode around the world. And I said, I finally achieved it. And this is going to sound crazy, but this massive spirit came up to me, took a sword, chopped me in half, and said, "You know nothing." Said, "These are the worlds out there." He showed me I clearly were drug induced. He showed this is what reality really is. And I remember I finally felt the search that I've spent most of my life seeking. The search, the path I was on was actually empty. And what really counts is love. And I only knew it when I was chopped in half. Fortunately, it was a dream. Right?
No, but your story like that is kind of similar to other stories that are for the people that are dying and survived, and even in the movies they showed certain things like that. Very similar.
Yeah, it was. It's interesting that the experience. I talked to this other guy. I forget his name. Um, Lee from San Antonio put me in touch with him, but he was under for 60 days, and he was sharing the same sort of like vivid stories and the type of dreams you have under this. They're like super lucid and clear, and they feel real. And so the lesson that I learned from that stayed with me even afterwards. And maybe it was being near death. The doctor said my heart stopped multiple times the first few nights, and they had to resuscitate me. And so I was definitely on the deathbed. And so
Man, Ava was not kidding when she said we almost lost you, bro.
yeah, it's real. It's real. It's
Shit.
crazy that I can talk to you right now and be
Yeah,
like,
it's
yeah,
crazy.
it's
It's
crazy.
crazy like nothing happened. Look at you. You're still you look healthy.
Thank,
You're
thank you.
smiling. It's like,
Yeah, I'm happy. happy to be alive. You know, amazing. You know, it's funny. And I'm probably going to be emotional a few times. One of the lasting effects is my connection to my emotions is like nothing I've ever experienced before. So I'll just warn you and anybody else ahead of time. Like I'm going to be crying at the point.
Don't worry about
But
that. Last time I interviewed Sion in this podcast, he cried also. So nothing new, bro. We
nothing
can
new.
all
Great.
express our
Excellent.
emotions, no problem. I was crying when I was interviewing Nestor because, as you know, he has cancer.
Dude,
So
I follow his story, and I love that man so much. And
love him too, man. One
he's
of
such a
the
great,
nicest guy in Australia, dude.
he's the best. And
Yeah,
just to have him, you know, he for him to show his determination, and that's the doctors all told me my determination largely influenced. It was the medicine, it was the prayers, but they also said it was my determination. And to see that in him, I know he's coming out.
yeah.
Or at the very least, he's increased the chances quite a lot. But the power of the mind and positivity makes a huge, huge difference.
Definitely the positivity and the positive things he's receiving from our industry also helps, because I was mentioning in the interview when I interviewed him, because I was also diagnosed with leukemia when I was in my early 20s, and I told my doctor, that's for babies, doc. You know? But you know, I survived that one because they caught it early, you know.
Wow.
But from all the other patients that I met, they said the one thing that would make it worse is this.
It's true.
If
Yeah.
your brain and your psychological and your mind has already accepted that this cancer will kill you, it will. It will. It will be rapid after that. You know, it's like I told Nestor that, dude, if you know, there's like 14%, 15% success rate. It didn't say zero, Nestor.
That's
You
right.
know?
There's this guy, Hal Elrond, I think is his name, who said like he survived when there was just a 10% chance. But he said he was 100% certain he was going to be part of that 10%. And like, and the certainty, it's a weird thing because in reality, there's no certainty. But when the mindset is certain, everything else changes. And Tony Robbins is big about that. He's big about talking about that when you can, when your energy focuses, that's where energy flows. And,
Has your outlook in life changed before the pandemic to now?
oh, like, yeah, ready for a 5-hour conversation? Like,
no, you tell me some of the things, because I like those, because, you know, my mother died of liver cancer last year. And then this year, almost everyone I know are like dropping, dude. Is it because I'm old, or it's just the worst year, you know?
yeah, I talked to Will Nieves about that, and Will Nieves from Nieves Dance Studio, he was saying that like part of it is we're now aging some, and so when we're in our 20s, you know, and 30s, we're not, you know, we don't experience death in the front of our minds. But as we head into the 40s, I just turned 49. It's actually our age group starts experiencing some of those things,
Yeah.
and more so the older we get. And you know, I love the Latin hustle community. I love them so much, and those guys are in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
And you know, and all the time I'm seeing deaths, and their heartbreak. So yeah, that's where we're headed. Lots of things have shifted. I think the most interesting thing, my roommate, when I came back, you know, I came back from the hospital. I was in there for 88 days. I was telling her, you know, I was just struggling with questions of life. What's the meaning? Depressed about what to do. And she looked at me funny and she said, well, you know, the only difference between her and me was that she's been dealing with it 3 months. And I had a vacation while I was in the coma. You know? So she said, everybody's going through that. That's not new to you, buddy. And it's funny, like about 8 or 9 different people gave me that same reaction. Whenever I share my life lesson from almost dying, they're like, oh, that's what we're facing as well.
Not to mention you were in the hospital for over 80 days, bro.
88 days, yeah. I have a lot to say about that. You know, I'm gonna say something that's gonna be a little bit different than what you expect. I had a great time.
I like your perspective here, man. I love it.
It's really controversial, you know. And I'm not saying it it was all great. I hated getting shots like multiple times a day as they
Yeah.
checked my blood but the amount of attention the medical community gives you is extraordinary. I've never spent
Not
a
just
night.
that, I saw you dancing and teaching some other
Yeah,
people there.
yeah, that's true. Well, near the end of my rehab stay, I was at a acute rehab center.
Yeah.
Um, they figured out that, like, well, there's so much to say. One night when I was in ICU, maybe the third or fourth night after I was awake, I remember waking up in the middle of the night, and I just saw Zoe put up like 90 different photos of me and her dancing and performing, and I woke up and I saw in the middle of the TV screen that it said, "You are meant to." I think it was dance. You're meant to dance, you know. And I saw
Really?
that, yeah. And you know, in my brain I stood up, but in reality I could barely move. So I could only move my toes and fingers a little bit and wiggle a little bit. But I woke up in that moment. I said, I know my purpose. So I called the nurse over. I pressed the button, and the nurse came over. She said, "What, are you okay? Are you okay?" And I said, "I know my purpose in life." And she and she looked at me funny, and I just knew it. It was like 2 in the morning.
It took COVID-19 for you to figure it out.
That's right. You know, it was incredible. And then I told her my purpose, and she was not pleased and walked out. But I spent from 2 in the morning to the next of the day, just wired with energy and passion about the thing I love the most. And you know, Thanksgiving's coming up, and I was talking about with gratitude. I am just so grateful for our community, for this opportunity on so many levels. The social dance that we get to do, the expression of the music to other people, the performing scene. It's given me so much joy in my life, and that's what I love doing the most. And I can't wait to get back to.
Did you fully know how much the community love and how much the community know you before the pandemic?
I knew they knew me. I did. Well, if I'm going to be honest, the answer is yes.
Okay.
The answer is yes. If I'm going to be honest, I know this, again, I'm super emotional. I love so many people, and it's so many people I love. But what was different is I didn't know the people I love and have like talked to on a semi-regular basis, or I see them, just love them. Yeah, I know they love me, and I love them. What stood out more were people who took 1 or 2 classes with me. Like maybe in India, they took 1 class and they said that changed their lives. Like, it just gives me shivers. Like that's like that to me. And there were hundreds of people like that. And you know, when we're big time, that I didn't get. And when we touch as dance teachers in the scene, we give such life to so many people, and we often don't take in the impact we have on people's lives because they're just not in touch with us. We don't know. We don't necessarily see them again. And to have that, the way I say it is like everybody should have a funeral where they get to see it and not be dead, you know? And I had the gift of like having this funeral. So
yeah, the eulogy being alive.
Right. Everybody needs to see their own eulogy, you know?
Yeah.
And from that, it was a gift that will stay with me for the rest of my life, which is like, I'll never, ever doubt my significance again. And to give a full picture of that, I did doubt my significance. Like going into, I did a lot of great things, but I never felt like I did enough. And not only did I not feel like enough, I felt like what I did do, although I made some good waves in the South Sudan's community, and as an educator, I impacted a lot of lives. Actually, in the South Sudan's community, I came close to accomplishing everything I wanted to. But as an educator, I didn't. And as a family man, I didn't. And so I didn't, as a educator in public schools. And yeah, I still had more things to do. Right before I went to the coma, Zoe and I were working on a coaching curriculum for kids to coach each other on their life goals.
Nice.
And it was so beautiful. It was just about to finish. I was just finishing, do I have a copy here? I was just finishing this book, Middle School Election, which was about the 2006 satire 2016 election. I was doing cool stuff, but it wasn't enough. I wanted it done.
Right.
And when I woke up, you know, after the coma, I tried getting back to it, but I stared at a screen for months before I was able to do anything because my brain really didn't work that well. I thought it worked well, but you know, Yeah, but sorry, I got off topic.
But you don't remember everything while you were in the hospital, right? I mean,
I don't, you know, it's funny. I actually don't remember the first 5 days I was there before I was in the ventilator.
wow.
That for me, I don't know. Maybe it's the medication. That one, I actually remember virtually nothing. I just remember telling everybody to be quiet around me. There were like 20 or 30 people around me, and I was told later that that never happened. So,
Okay.
right. So, and then I took videos. Like I saw videos later, or some texts I sent to people, and then I looked at it later, and it jarred the memory of me being there. But I can't say I remember. And I remember going into the ventilator. I remember like my sister being very concerned, and my brother said, my younger brother told me that anytime I had a conversation with a family member and they brought up my potential death, I immediately hung up.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't remember that, but apparently that's what that was my reaction. I do remember my sister calling me or texting me almost the last day, warning me about the dangers of the ventilator, and I was just blowing it off. I actually never, because at the time we didn't know that people my age died. You know, we thought it was just for older people, and I was relatively healthy. I was definitely overweight, but didn't have any other underlying conditions.
You don't have any
The morbid
underlying illness there or whatever.
I didn't have anything like that. So I actually had no fear whatsoever. I'm like,
Yeah.
statistics show I'm going to be fine.
Yeah.
We didn't know back then. And I go to acupuncturist now. I go to a lot of things. I go to an acupuncturist, body worker, physical therapy.
I love acupuncturists.
It's the best. And
Yeah.
he said that like that ignorance helped me, because he said that like people who know the pain that's coming to them suffer in their body in a way.
Yeah.
Because he deals with a lot of people with car accidents,
Yeah.
that you don't know it's coming, your body relaxes and handles the impact better.
But it's very interesting that you say that when you know your relatives talk to you about death, you hang up, or when something painful or something maybe it's very painful to you that you don't remember it. It's very interesting how our body works, doesn't it? Because even people that are about to get hit by a car, they don't remember a thing, right? After that, they don't remember. They don't remember the pain. So isn't it interesting on the way we are created and how our body functions? Interesting.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. Like I remember getting to it, who knows, I got to talk to some of the doctors. But when I got there, I remember the relief of getting the oxygen. And I remember feeling like, oh, okay, I just needed oxygen. And immediately I could breathe. And then I remember the nurses, it's coming back to me even we talk about now, that I kept knocking the oxygen mask off because I didn't like it. And my family said because of the malaria drug I was taking, because they were just experimenting with anything, I was having massive hallucinations at the time.
The hydrochloroquine or something, yeah.
Yeah, it was bad. Like I know that I have a sensitive body, so I don't do well with those hallucinogenic
Do you do well with caffeine?
Well, it depends who you ask. Like before I worked with Zoe, I loved caffeine. Zoe's the first person to say, look, whatever energy you get, it's not worth the shakiness in your body. So she's the one that made me get off caffeine because you know, we do a move like a hand to hand, I'd hold it up.
Yeah.
But I didn't think I was shaking. I was intense. But because my sensitivity wasn't there, and she's such a sensitive flyer.
Well, especially what you guys do. I mean, that thing, I mean, if I were to do it, I'm probably not going to do it because sometimes I'm on ephedrine and caffeine and aspirin combination. You're familiar with that combination, right?
It feels good. But like one of the things I always describe for when I work with couples is like, just because it feels good for you doesn't mean it feels good for the other person. Right? You really need to check in on that too.
That's really true. Yeah.
Right?
It's very interesting, man. I mean, so what's the plan? Let's say the pandemic is over, bro.
Yeah.
What's the plan? Business as usual, or you have a different outlook on the dance, or what?
I do. I have an enormous ambitions. I do know that I talked to Zoe a week afterwards, and I told her, hey, Zoe, we're going to go on a world tour in a month. And I was like, I know my purpose in life. And, you know, I'm going to tell you how crazy I was. I actually thought I was mad that the room was too cold. And I told the doctors, I said, yo, you need to warm this room up. But I was, had this bad fever that wouldn't go down. So they had to keep it cold. And I
Yeah.
said, you do that another night, I'm out of here. And I meant it. What I didn't know, because my brain wasn't so great, I had like the ventilator through, or the tracheotomy. I had wires coming on my fingers. And
Yep.
worst of all, not only could I not walk, I couldn't even move. I couldn't even get down to the edge of the bed. But my Brooklyn brain was like, don't fuck with me. Keep that keep that
The New
temperature
Yorker,
up.
man.
Yeah, I was so New York. It was so funny, And it was funny because I was serious. I remember the argument I had with them. Sorry, I forget why I'm mentioning this. Do you remember the original? Oh, purpose, what we're going to do. So at that same time, I also told Zoe, as delusional as it was, I'd be totally fine in a month. And that's not the case. I mean, I'm probably about 30-40% right now, 6 months later. And doctors say it's like hopeful to get a full recovery. Assuming that all happens, assuming the world's back together in 6 months. Yeah, Zoe and I are talking about, doing our biggest passion, which is performing again in the places that we made inroads in many years ago. And I'm clear about that I love performing. And then I have this, when one of the things I think is beautiful about social dance, I just think we create so much joy for so much people. And I so much want to be a part of creating that joy. So, I mean, I have a lot of ambitions. I could talk about all of them, but when it comes to dance, yeah, at the very least, taking advantage of this time when we can build closeness amongst people.
Yeah. I mean, look, let's go back to where you guys competed in America's Got Talent. Tell me what was that like about, and which round where you guys got eliminated?
Yeah, my favorite story to start off telling this is that we competed in season 4. We actually auditioned in season 2.
Really?
And we did. I know people don't know that. It's an interesting story. We competed in 2, and before you get into the first round that you see on TV, there are 3 rounds before that that they go through associate producers, and so you have to go through a lot.
Yeah.
We didn't get beyond the first assistant to the associate producer round. They saw our act and we went nowhere. It was interesting. And I remember they told us, well, we'll call you. And I was so confident that we were going to the next round. I called them every day, multiple times a day for 2 or 3 months saying, when are you going to call us? And apparently they just tell everybody, we'll call you, which is the code word for saying you're not in. I didn't know that at the time. And and part of the problem is that season 1, they had Arthur Davis and his partner, I forget his partner's name. They kicked, they were another level. They were, where Zoe and I are great, but they're like gods. And we didn't deserve to be coming right after them in the next season. But season 4 came along. There weren't any other acrobatic dancers for a few years. Then we were something new. And then we had a great story. We just got married. And it's funny, my second favorite story I'd like to tell is we made it through the first few auditioning rounds. We're like, all right, we're going to be on the big show. And what I didn't know, because I'd never seen the show, I just heard about it, that they have buzzers.
They do.
So, right. We didn't know. I didn't know. So, like, we're below we're in the basement of the theater, and we're hearing all these buzzers. And so he's looking at me funny, saying, you didn't tell me about this. What's this? And I was like, apparently they're buzzers. And so, we're not used to that. So. Yeah, that was, and I remember, like, if you ever watch the video, it's funny. They show me eating this big burrito. And did you see the video before? No, if you watch it, it's funny.
I saw your performance. I don't think I've seen the
the pre-story. They were putting me as this big fat guy and loving the burrito. And I knew they were going to do that because they had me waiting for like 6 hours. And I was like, yo, I'm going across the street to get a Chipotle burrito. I'm hungry, I remember getting it. And I remember them filming me eat it. And I was thinking, well, if I ever get on TV to show that I'm eating this burrito, so be it. I'll be on TV. Let the whole thing see. And then when I saw it, I was like, oh, they caught that moment. So, but
yeah, it's just interesting to like show that.
Yeah. they were playing up in the pre-show like, oh, who's this guy? And then, you know, they told us, and the producer told me, when you go on the show, you want the audience in the first 10 seconds to get behind you. So we did our best trick, which is Zoe lifting me. And I'll never forget, I've never had the experience before. We actually got a standing ovation 10 seconds into our routine. You know?
That was a good trick that you did, because you know how small Zoe is. Of course, you know how strong she is, but the audience doesn't know that. So when they see that, especially when they shoot you were eating burrito.
Yeah, they played it up perfectly, right? So
Perfect.
the audience went completely nuts, and
Yeah.
I'll never forget it. And actually, my mother was in the audience. She was suffering from depression and suicidal ideation at the time.
Yeah, yeah.
And it broke her completely out of everything.
Oh,
She
really?
got out of her seat. She ran down the aisles and said, "That's my boy. That's my boy." my older brother was like, "Get back! You can't do this." I don't care. She's like, you could barely walk, but here she was throwing guards out of her way. And
yeah, because I remember the video. The audience were screaming. You know,
it was amazing. So like that for me was probably one of the highlights of my life. That was absolutely incredible. Then we made the Vegas round. Then we did a trick in the next round after that. It was like the top 40, if I remember correctly. And in the top 40, we did great. We did a trick where I lift her up by the ankles on the side. I don't know if you know it. What's cool about the background behind that story is I only did that move twice before in my life.
Oh my God.
I know. Yeah. And my coach said, "Don't worry. If you have millions of people watching you, it'll go." And we had, you know, it's totally rolling the dice. You know how like you do a show sometimes where you don't quite have the trick ready?
Yeah, I know.
You do it anyway. This was worse version. I only did it twice, but I thought the pressure, and I remember, I'm not too religious, but I did pray in that moment, you know, please. And the moment I got her up, I knew we made it to the next round.
No,
it was
you guys
we
were
made
great.
it to the semifinals. We actually saved our best show for the finals. We in retrospect, we shouldn't have done that because the semifinals show, we got eliminated, and we saved all of our best stuff. We never got to do our best stuff.
But in our industry, bro, you guys were the only ones that made it to those
At
rounds.
the time. Junior and Emily, I think, did well, and
but they didn't go to the finals. They didn't go to the
Is that right?
semifinals. No, they didn't
I
make
didn't
it.
know that.
Quarterfinals. I'm not even sure if they made it to the quarterfinals, bro.
Yeah, I'm super proud, but a lot of it, you know, it was story. You know, I try to be as honest as possible. You know, we're very good. We're good performers. There are plenty of other good performers as well. Part of it is they loved our story. You know, we were newly married.
Yeah, you got to have a story. You got to have one arm or one leg or something.
That's right.
Something like that.
So I'm trying to tell Zoe, it's like, look, we can go back now. I got the COVID recovery story.
That's true. That is true, man. That is true.
Yeah, like, come on, we got to do this. We got to run this back, you know?
Yeah. Because especially the way you got the COVID and the way you survived it, not too many people can testify to that they were in ventilators for more than 30 days
and
live to tell about it.
It's worse than that. When I was in the rehab, and again, I'm super emotional about these times.
Yeah,
I saw so many people who could barely move their bodies. They're all in wheelchairs. They all were stricken with COVID, far worse than I was. I mean, I was worse than them at the beginning, but like in the recovery, I recovered, they said miraculously fast, probably because I didn't know, I didn't think I should be there to begin with.
Yeah, I think the positivity in your mental capacity, and not to mention, I think ignorance is bliss.
It is, right? I wish I could be more ignorant in general. Well, yeah. Certain things for sure, you know? And yeah, like, I think what my friend reminds me is like I'm a sort of a miraculous story. You know, you have the 250,000 people who died. You have hundreds of thousands of other people who are permanently maimed and cloudy. And like right now, I still struggle. I have some nerve damage in my foot and my shoulder. I can move a little bit. The other day, I was I walk a lot. I do a lot of exercise. I was on my trampoline yesterday, actually.
You did?
For the first time, yeah.
Do you still lift weights?
I don't lift weights. I do the bands and such.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm almost tempted to show you my trampoline over there. I had my nephews over and I was like, let me try it. And I was like, being careful. You have to be careful in recovery because the first week I came back, I thought it was fine.
Yeah.
So I rode my bike, and I was careful to get on right. I was careful to drive right. What I didn't know is I didn't practice getting off. So the moment I stopped, I tilted and rolled in the middle of the street, and really would have been a bad way to end after all that effort into yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to be more careful now.
Wait, you told me you don't lift weights. Did you lift weights before, or you don't lift weights now? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I lifted weights in high school.
I think you have the build, bro. There's
Yeah,
no way you could tell me you never lifted weights because you have the frame.
it depends how you define weights.
Well, back in college, you have a physical fitness type of course, right? And then you go to the gym. You just go through a series of.
Yeah, I don't do that. I lift like Zoe stands in my hands and I lift her over my head. So
Yeah.
lifting weights of some sort.
Yeah.
You know, I do a little bit of kettlebell training, but
So pretty much your strength is pretty much natural. Then it's your genetics.
well, not just yes, but I would say every 10 years, from 30 to 45, I probably gained 5 to 10 pounds. Half of it muscle, half of it Twinkie weight. But it came from just constantly doing the acrobatics. And
I see.
with Zoe, we used to train like 3-4 hours a day for like 5-6 days a week. We separated about nine years ago, and
And
even
you're pretty flexible, also.
well, that's super kind. I would like to be more flexible. My goal for one is my dream. I did a lot of what I wanted to do, but there are a few more goals I have. One of which is to hold somebody in the hand to hand and do a split.
Yes.
That's cool, but even cooler, I've only seen it twice, is then go back up from the split to stand.
Oh, man.
Right. There's a way to do it. And I know the technique. The technique is doable. It's the split part that I have a lot more. Yeah.
When I used to be in martial arts, we were required to stretch twice a day.
That's great.
To get into that split because
Yeah.
the muscles recover quickly. And so if you only do it once a day, it's not going to count it. Because most Taekwondo people do that,
Yeah. My brother's a 5th-degree black belt, actually.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah. And he spent, our entire teenage years in front of the TV, stretching hours every day.
Stretching. Yeah. Even when you're watching TV, there is that stretching machine where you could just adjust it and it keeps spreading your leg. That's what I used to do, man.
Yeah, that's intense.
Now I'm 54 years old. I can't do that anymore.
No.
I can't do it anymore.
When we're at our age, we have to my physical trainer told me the biggest power moves might be behind me and better to work on the aesthetic.
By the way, what was it like partnering up with Ava? Because you guys have a short time together there.
Oh yeah, for me it was a long time. Because I just feel so honored. When I first saw her dance with Louis Rosa, who, God bless his soul, passed away, but I saw them dance and I said, that's what I want to do. And I had an acrobatic group at the time, and I hired Louis Rosa. I'll never forget, he came into our group. There was Daria, Caroline, some other people, and I came in. He took off his coat, which was one layer, but taking off all his gold chains was like 9 other layers, So those people know him. It's hilarious.
I got a story about Louis, bro, but go ahead.
Yeah. So anybody knows he's a special guy. And he taught, and for him, and I give credit to everybody who did it afterwards, he taught everything he knew. And I asked him, I said, why are you teaching everything you know? Because I was like, what you know is so special. And he said, because people did it for me. And that's something I try to pass on. Yeah. But anyway, I believe Ava might be able to verify this, but I believe they split, and I saw Ava in the Puerto Rico Congress, and I forget how the conversation started, but I'm pretty sure I said, "Hey,
I'm here, Ava."
I'm here, and I think I had instruction. If I remember, she'll remember. She has better memory than me. I think I had instructional DVD at the time. Maybe I suggested we do one together because I knew she was teaching, and that might have been my in for working with her. But working with Ava was a dream, and to work with your teacher, your inspiration, was every moment I had for it. I guess it was 2 or 3 or 4 years, I forget. But we became very, very close. One of my closest friends, and an extraordinary person. And she taught me professionalism. She taught me, so much. And I love her dearly.
Alex Lee, have you ever met him?
Wow, we're gonna go through these amazing people. Sure.
Alex Sanchi, that is.
Of course. There's so many great stories. My favorite story, if you can post it a little bit later, it'd be great for people to see. I don't know if everyone saw, but Alex and I once, we were performing at the Salsa Congress in Hong Kong. And you know how at the end of the Congresses on Sunday night, everybody does their dancing. One of the people come up, everybody follows it. And Alex and I are just bored as shit in the back, you know? We're like, yo, this fucking sucks, you know? We're like, nobody wants to see us do a fucking Susan Q, you know? So, and then I don't know, it was him or me who said it, but said, you know, let's go up there and like do an Around the World or do something like this. We did, and at the same time, the crowd went crazy.
I remember that, dude. I was there.
Were you there?
Yeah.
Are you serious? No shit.
I was there.
I didn't know you were there. That's awesome, man.
I was there.
So,
you know, I've known Alex. I've known Alex to do crazy things, dude.
yeah, I mean, there's so many amazing things about him. His skill is incredible. His enthusiasm, his upbeat energy, his support for everybody is great. His teaching is great. And so I've always known him, but then from that night, our friendship took a new level because Jamie saw us and said, you guys are gonna do that same thing at the Australia Salsa Congress.
Yeah, yeah.
We did it. You were there in Australia too?
I've never been to Jamie's event, but most of the event that I've been to in Australia is Nestor's. But I've met Jamie for sure, yeah.
Jamie is, of course, extraordinary. And
nice guy, yeah.
Nice guy. So we rocked a quartet there with. So have you ever seen that?
Is
show?
that on YouTube too? I'd like to see that.
It is on YouTube, brother.
It is.
Oh yeah, I'll send it to you after this. Anybody who
All
hasn't seen it, you can email RODCHATA or I, and we'll send it to you. I should put that on my website.
Yeah,
but,
you should. I mean, that should be fun.
It's the best. And then we did it again in LA. I think we did it in San Francisco. But yeah. That's one of my favorite performing experiences in my life. And what I love about him is he's so fun to be around because he's so
very loyal guy too.
Loyal too, and he also, it's funny. We shared a memory. I remember we were both competing for who would be a salsa acrobatic couple, for a few years. And I was working with Ava at the time, and I remember he did a killer performance at the Hong Kong Salsa Congress. It was a year or 2, 3 years before that, I forget. Yeah. And then Ava and I were like, "Yo, we have to come out full strong." And I remember Ava and I had our best show, and our last move was me rolling her along the floor to the audience.
Right.
And Ava had never done the move before, and I was like, "It'll be fine, don't worry." And we hit our best show, and at the very end I throw her out and she rolls and tumbles like this. And Ava was so mad at me. I was like, oh yeah, maybe we should have practiced that beforehand. And then Alex told me later
it was a good idea at the time.
Right, it's a good idea at the time. You know, Alonzo Bowden, that's one of his favorite phrases. But Alex told me that from his perspective, he knew we were both competitive, trying to outbeat each other. And he said he was worried because, like, Ava and I were doing well, not worried, but like, saying, okay, they've come with their A game, and we blew it at the end.
Yeah, Alex is always worried for safety. And I remember this in Palm Spring. I think he dropped Chi. When he dropped Chi, the dude could not get over it for 24 hours. He was very emotional. That's how he values safety and his partner,
if I'm correct, he in Japan 1 or 2 or 3 years ago, he did a move and he tore his ACL or MCL or something like this, and he still got underneath Kim in the trick to make sure she was safe. So that man
he mentioned that in the podcast a few weeks ago when I interviewed him. I mean, that guy has gone everywhere just like you guys. On what you guys do, because not too many people do what you guys do. Because
more now than
number one is dangerous.
It's super dangerous. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. It's very dangerous. More people do it now than they used to. We were more of a novelty back then. Now they're probably like, I don't know, something like a few hundred people who do it.
Yeah, young
And
people. Really, some of them are little. The Colombians have done it for a while. They've been winning competitions back then.
yeah,
Now the Mexicanas are like doing it all over the
they're
place.
doing extraordinary. Yeah, I know that I know the Colombians from you know, I've been doing this for over 20 years. And I remember in the early 2000s, the Colombians were not very good. I remember
Yeah,
Swing, you know, back then. I remember
yeah.
something de la Luna, or I forget the names, but I remember the best groups coming to LA Congress, and they were ordinary. And then Swing Latino, I think they
Yeah,
started working with the circus out there,
maybe.
Circus Columbia, Circo Columbia. I'm not 100. I don't have that story, but I suspicious somebody went out there to raise their level. And then, you know, I've been to the Colombian South Congress there. You know, there are 14,000 people in the audience.
I
It's
heard, man.
one of the best experiences to see how much they put out there. And then you don't see 4 or 5 couples, you see hundreds of people do the hardest level tricks. And
Wow.
yeah, it's another level there.
Yeah. I mean, I heard that from Ricardo Sanchez when he told me, dude, like over 14,000 like
It's true.
audience there. It's like, are you
It's
serious?
true.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, I'll never forget. Zoe and I performed at one of the. They invited us down to do a show, and it was in a bull arena, normally for the bull acts, and it was really incredible to feel 14,000 people. The only other time I felt 14,000 people was performing at the New York Knicks show, and that was a halftime show. And if you've never done a halftime show, I could say that's one of the best and worst experiences. It's great because you have a lot of people, but
Right.
they're not there to see you.
No, no,
No.
not
And
at all.
so the pay
Yeah.
is great, but you know, it's really better for the video than the actual experience.
Yeah, yeah. I know that feeling when you're performing and nobody else is paying attention because
Uh,
there are other stuff they're doing. It's the same
yeah.
thing with teaching with me. I'm teaching in a club and there are people there in the bar drinking and everything. Oh, that annoys the shit out of
Oh,
me, man.
energy, yeah. It's hard. I could say one of my best performing experiences was back with one of my dancers, Carolyn Grimaldi. She and I performed in the subway, and
Mm,
you know, people, and I'll never forget how many people walked by us. I got one of those special permits to perform,
right.
like very coveted at the time, and my friend told me about it, and he said, you'll never get better than when you're begging for money and nobody pays any attention to you, and you can't perform for other people's approval, you perform for yourself. And
Nice.
yeah, and from that experiencing, seeing everybody, and it was exactly what he said, you just see people don't want to bother, even though you're doing great shit, great moves, and you become an inner performer instead of seeking validation from the outside.
I think that's a good that's a good tip right there. Even if people are watching you, just to having that mindset that you just said, I think it's very, very valuable for performers in
It is,
general.
definitely. And you know, we
Do you
did
still get scared before you perform? Do you get scared?
it depends. When I do a show that I've done many times, I generally get a little, something a little bit, but not much. If I'm doing a new show and I'm not sure what the outcome is going to be,
Mm.
but you know, back in the old days, I used to get scared 2 months beforehand, and then
Well, at least 2 months.
at least 2 months, and then like a week I was in terror, and the day of, like, you know. So compared to that, no, but I still get feelings. I remember, you know, I'll have but you know, you perform enough, you get used to a little bit
Get
of
used to it,
queasiness,
yeah.
and it's like, you know, back when I used to perform, I was just trying to get to the show with whatever I had to get ready. Whereas now, I don't ever get out and do something that I don't know what's going to happen ahead of time, and then I don't know the 20 variations or how to fix it if it goes wrong. And so it's less stress, a little bit, but not as much. It's only when I
So,
don't know what's going to happen.
so if a couple, a competitor, go to you and Zoe, it's like, hey, we want you to teach us how to do acrobatics, and they've never done acrobatics before, but they're, let's say, top 10 salsa competitor, whether it's on 1 or 2, but they've never done acrobatics. What would you tell them?
The first thing I tell them, it happens all the time, by the way,
Uh-huh.
all the time.
I see.
Happens to me, yeah. I tell them, you know, some people know, but most don't. that learning this is like learning a new dance. And so if you're learning acrobatics, please don't see this as adding a new turn pattern to your turn pattern sequence or
Right.
your movement. This
Yeah.
is learning a whole new art. And, you know, people in general don't listen, but I give them that pretext. And after 1 hour, when I explain the complexity of even doing a simple move well,
Yeah.
then they get their, then if the experience fills in what I had told them. In general, you can't tell people anything that, you know, when they think they know until they actually get a visceral reason for believing what you have to say. So I generally say a very little bit. But after the experience of 1 hour, when you break down, you know, ideally a great lesson, they leave with an understanding. Like I once worked with the Olympic ice skaters, and when I work with top level people who have some experience, they all know it's like going to be an hour, 2 hours of just refining one small. But yeah, so when somebody comes in new, um, I don't make, you know, in the old days, people used to say, teach me something amazing that nobody else has done in 1 hour, you know, like this. I used to get that all the time. And back then,
Drink, right?
yeah, no problem. You know,
Ah. Oh yeah. Keep going. Keep going.
yeah, back then, I actually had hundreds of movies that nobody done. So I could share that with people.
I mean, you have your DVDs also, right?
I have DVDs. And I actually just put them on. I have to talk to Ava about this. I just digitized them finally.
Oh, that's good. That's
Yeah,
good.
fine. I should have did that years ago.
Yeah.
Ava's always been asking me to do that. But yeah, I forgot what I was saying.
That's
Sorry,
basically
DVDs. I was thinking, oh, I should have did
DVDs. I'm sure that what's your website nowadays where they could either contact you for private lessons or just look at your videos.
Sure, absolutely. Paradizo Dance is Zoe and my website, Paradizo dance.com, Paradizo. And Ava Apple, you can get in touch with Zoe Klein at zoekleinproductions.com. I also have books now. So if you want to read a book of mine, check me out on YouTube. I got
Love it.
Legends. Yeah, man.
I love it, man.
It was funny. It was last year that I had a lot of time on my hands because Zoe has a beautiful boy, was pregnant, and she was in California. There was a partner I had in here who was also pregnant, and both kids. Neither answer was, you know, I wasn't the father of either child. And I remember telling people all the time, I was just like, yeah, both my dance partners have kids,
Yeah.
and looked at me super judgmentally. And I learned later on. I learned later on what they were assuming, but I have to clarify that. But during that time, I started writing kids' books, and I have 3 of them now, and more coming. So, yeah,
That's a $1 billion industry, brother.
yeah. If I hit it big, I did it really for the kids that I know already. I'm a school teacher during the day,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I know that I know most kids don't like reading, and I've taught literacy for over 21 years. And so I was like, you just need to provide things that are funny, things that are quick, and that's what I did. I think I did a good job.
Have you and Zoe ever thought of Cirque du Soleil auditioning for?
We did. We've been the Cirque du Soleil. We performed in maybe 4 or 5 different circuses as guest artists before. We were offered tours for medium level circuses that go around. Zoe wanted to do it. I said I didn't, to be honest.
That's a lot of pressure, and they put you to work, dude.
They put you to work, right?
Yeah.
Exactly correct.
They put
It's like,
you to work.
I like doing, you know, 1 or 2 shows a weekend, the 2 workshops, and we're good, you know.
Yeah.
Those circuses, they put you 10 shows
Oh,
a
yeah.
week, and then you do the same show, and you lose your artistic creativity. I wasn't down for that, and the Cirque du Soleil people, I know a lot of them. Look, we would have did it if we got to that level, we would have done it. But I know a lot of them that were not happy doing it. And it became more of a, when you do it that much, it's actually better when you leave and you can use that credential than it is when you're in it and doing, they don't pay well, and you're doing somebody else's choreography. I love doing the choreography that we do. And it's our expression, it's our love of the music. And I'm not to say, look, they didn't accept us, and there were people. We were good. There were people better than us. So,
Hmm.
so I don't. We could have. We were close. Like she went to circus school 10 years ago,
Right.
and she moved out to California, and that's unfortunately when we split as a romantic couple, and then really separate. And then our ability to train went down the tubes because we were in different parts of the country.
Yeah.
At that moment, if we stayed together, I'm pretty sure we would have made Cirque du Soleil or even did something on our own. We were forming our own circus acrobatic troupe, and but then we went separate ways. We still do shows and still do, but she did her own acrobatic troupe out in the Bay Area. I used to come out to consult and help her, and if I did that in a marriage, we might still been together. It's true. At the time, I was so obsessed with like just doing my way, but
I
she really
mean,
wanted to do more dancing.
you guys are still friends, but the
Very
thing
close.
that I want to ask is, how does that work when you guys, okay, let's say you break up, you got all of this thing going, and then you break up, you take a break for a while, and then because you had a good relationship as professional or as friends first, does that, is that a factor of you working together, can work together again because you were friends in the first place?
Yeah, I'd say, it's funny. I when we split, I asked every single person I know who split with their partner,
Mm,
both people who stayed together and people who didn't. I
yeah.
asked them that same question, like, how do you do it? And the people who stayed together, they all say they suffered, but it was worth it. And the people that didn't said they suffered, and then they said, forget it, it isn't worth it. So, so like, I could say for me, I went in one interesting direction. I went in personally was I said I needed to train myself in communication. I thought I was good at communicating, but what I learned is I was good at communicating what I thought was right. And I started doing compassionate communication. I started doing leading circles and nonviolent community and all this stuff. And I changed the way. I don't know if definitely we wouldn't have still worked together if I didn't get better training. But I got training. We went to a couples therapist to work out how to listen to each other better. And to this day, I use everything I learned, not only with dance couples, I use that with my students.
Good.
And it
Good.
was, in some ways, it was the biggest blessing in my life that we did split. And we still had the joy of working together without fighting. We used to fight 90% of the time. Now
Yeah.
it's only
Yeah.
like 5%. And
Yeah.
it came from and now I say, I try to train both my dance clients and also my middle school students on how to communicate without trying to prove the other person how wrong they are.
Right.
Apparently that doesn't work so well.
Oh, there are many forms of communication, but the number one thing, if you're a good listener, you'll be a good communicator. That's just simple as that. Just most people don't listen, and they miss what the other person's need.
Yeah, it's funny. There's a friend of mine, Barry Durand, who was he explained to me he was 55 at the time. I think it was like 36, and he was working with Zoe and I in West Coast Swing and some tricks. We're doing some in exchange, and I saw the way he was with his partner, and was very relaxed. And I was not like that. And I asked, "What's your secret?" And he looked at me and he said, "I'm 55."
A good answer.
And it was the right answer because
Yeah.
he knew. He said I was the exact same way when I was your age. I was a hothead, and I thought it just had to and it just said listening and just letting it go and
Yeah.
being at peace.
Yeah.
And I learned that late, unfortunately, but fortunately I learned it because some people never learn it. And yeah, so now Zoe and I have this amazing partnership. We still work together. I help her in her project. She helps me on mine. And yeah, and she really, when I got sick, she really was decimated by that. And she said she, I said it too, but she said she wanted to really like spend much more time with me, and that really my almost passing really woke that spirit up to her. And I said, don't worry, we'll do it. We'll tour the world again. So that's
Good.
the plan.
Good.
We'll see.
I mean, I was a little devastated when I saw your picture in a ventilator. I have to confess, bro.
Yeah,
I was a little devastated because I saw it on Facebook. I was devastated for a while there, and then when I see you dancing with one of the nurse or someone there.
It was a nurse, yeah.
I
It was a
was happy,
physician.
dude. I was like, oh my God, he survived. Holy
Yeah,
shit, you know? So,
yeah.
look, it's not just me, it's the people all over the world in our industry who loves you. I mean, you don't know what you have and what your impact is until something happens, or a major something happens, and then you realize all these people, like you said, you know, my very first instructor was Ava, and she only did a private lesson with me once. Yet I still claim that she was one of the most valuable instructor because she taught me timing. I was like, "Hey, show me what you got." It's like, "Oh, let me show you." I was like, "Well, Rodney, you're not on time." And that was the most valuable lesson that I've ever learned from her, and I credit her as one of my best teacher.
Yeah,
She didn't even remember that, but now she remembers it. But it's true on what I was saying to you, what you were saying about, yeah, some of them you met at one time, but guess what? You changed their life.
that's right. We change lives as dance instructors and
Yeah,
performers far more than we realize. And I got to be, I got the gift of seeing that. And it's something I filled my heart. And I say that to everybody,
yeah,
everybody I walk around. It's like, it's not, you don't necessarily need to be a dance partner. There are people who reached out to me who, as a school teacher, I just said one nice thing to them one day when I saw them look, and they were, it totally changed, not their life, but it changed definitely their experience that day. And they were
absolutely.
grateful for it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And yeah, and don't forget, when the pandemic is over, there's so many opportunities there, not to mention you said you got a lot of ideas, because I know you're a guy
I
who
do.
got a lot
I
of
do.
ideas.
I
You
got
gotta
a
write
lot.
them down, dude, because you'll forget.
Yeah, I have. I have about 35 different folders of ideas. And yeah, it helps in the pandemic time. I know a lot of people deal with it differently, but
Mm,
for me, um, it's hard not to see people and be part of things. But it's also been a blessing to really prioritize what I want and start planning my life towards that.
yeah. Well, brother, it's good to see you. I'm glad we had a chat today because I haven't talked to you in a long time. And I'm glad that you're healthy now. I'm
Thank you.
glad that you survived that. Really, you almost died, dude.
I almost died.
You almost died. And now you have a second chance in life. And I can't wait for what you do with your creativity and all.
Thank you. Thank you. Hopefully, I bring some amazing show. We bring it to one of your events, and we hug,
Do it.
and that would be, that's honestly, that's one of my biggest reasons for coming back to the world, is this
Good.
pleasure and this joy that we have together in this world.
I'm looking forward to that. Thank you for the time. Zoe was going to be here, but she didn't make it, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, if you like this podcast today, just give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you see our friend here at paradisodance.com. I'm going to put that in the description. In that way, if you have any questions, or you want to see him live or his videos and his DVDs, he's still there, by the way.
And my book is
Just
davidparisbooks.com if you ever want to.
DavidParisBooks.com. I forgot he writes books not for children,
YouTube middle
especially.
school election, YouTube
Nice.
laughable legends, all. It's probably something else somewhere I forgot.
I'm happy to see you, man. I like your
Great to see you, brother.
positivity, and I think it made a lot of difference. So, brother, for now, bye for now, but I'll see you soon, okay?
See you soon, brother. Thank you so much.
All right.